Hello again, everybody. Paul from the Vitamin House in Manalapan, New Jersey. Tonight, we're going to talk about Kratom, or Kratom, as some people call it. Kratom, Mengda. There's different names for it. There's different types. Red Mengda, Red Bali. There's different strains, but it's often referred to as, some people call it Kratom, however you want to pronounce it. There are different types. The main strains are red, white, green, and gold. And there's different strains of them, different names. There's Bali, again, Mengda. Mengda are the ones we primarily have. Red Mengda, white Mengda. We also have combination, like there's a product here from Professor White's called Euphoria, which is a combination of white and green together. I'll explain what the differences are in a second. This is gaining popularity for a couple different reasons. One, it's anti-inflammatory and its uses for pain. Kratom is being used for pain, through all different types of things, people walks of life, as alternatives to opioids. With the whole opioid crisis and everything, there's actually, as you look into Kratom, you'll see that a lot of people have found that you can actually, or they're using it to detoxify themselves off of, or would handle the withdrawal effects of opioids when they get off of them, going on to Kratom, because it also helps for the pain, and it helps for the side effects from the withdrawals of the opioids. So it has, a little bit of a stigma attached to it. I want to talk about that tonight, because when you go online and look for information about Kratom, a lot of it's negative. I've been using it myself since I started using it last summer. I have what's called, I was diagnosed with what's called piriformis syndrome, which is where the piriformis muscle pulls down on the sciatic nerve, shooting a radiating pain down through my hip. It was horrible. It kept me away from a lot of my favorite activities, like roller skating. But even something as simple as sitting down and getting up off the couch was a tremendous effort without just a shooting pain going through my hip. And I tried different things from the doctors. I tried different things here, like turmeric and ginger and boswellia and a lot of the anti-inflammatory herbs you hear about. Nothing, and I mean nothing, comes close in comparison. I even tried CBD, and CBD seemed to work for a little bit, but nothing comes close in comparison to Kratom. Now, also, before I forget, on Netflix, there is an awesome documentary on it called A Leaf of Faith, L-E-A-F, Leaf of Faith. It's on Netflix. I don't know if it's on iTunes or anything else, but I know it's on Netflix. What's good about that documentary is the guy that did it did a really good job. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he did an excellent job in addressing the negative issues that you will hear about Kratom when you go online. He addresses it in the documentary. It's about an hour and a half long. If you're thinking about getting into this, or if you have any more questions, I would start there, because when you go online, anything that they're looking to take off the market, and they've tried to take this off the market before. Right now, I believe it's a state-by-state thing. I'm not 100% sure if it's legal in every state, but it's legal in New Jersey, thank God. And because this stuff works for pain like nothing else. If you watch the documentary, he addresses all of the negative things that you're going to hear come up about Kratom if you go online. Again, it's called The Leaf of Faith, and it's on Netflix. Main one for pain is the red. Because even this brand right here, if you watched our videos on CBD, I mentioned a brand frequently called Creating Better Days. This is Creating Better Days brand of Kratom, Professor White's. And he makes a red, a white, as I say, for uplift, and a white and green, which they call Euphoria, which is a very, very unique product. This one's really nice, especially if you have any type of social anxiety or anything going on. And that's another thing Kratom's used for besides pain. It's also used for anxiety, mood, sleep, but different strains do different things. So if you get the red, The red is good for inflammation and pain. It's also very good for relaxing if you want to take it before you go to sleep. Now, this is available in capsules and powder. And it's it's just like CBD. You have to determine your own dose. What works for somebody else might not work for you, and vice versa. They say a good place to get started if you use the powder is a teaspoon for good results. Now, you may need more, but just remember, a teaspoon of the powder is about 3,000 milligrams. The capsules are only 500 milligrams, most of the ones on the market. So it becomes an issue of weight. So to get the equivalent of what's in a teaspoon of the powder, you would have to take 6 capsules. And I know it sounds like a lot. This is definitely not a product for somebody who's into the whole one-a-day thing. This is not for you, because it's not uncommon to hear people say, I take 10 or 12 of these things at once, and sometimes multiple times a day. The powder is definitely the answer for you. If you do not like taking a lot of capsules, I will tell you straight up, it is one of the worst things I've ever tasted as far as supplements goes, and it's difficult to mix. You have to mix it with hot water. If you just mix it with cold water, it separates very easily. Mixing it with hot water is the best. You can also mix it with, some people mix it with coffee, or some people mix it with coffee substitutes, or even with tea. I've got a couple customers that use this that will mix it with like a nighttime tea, like nighty-night tea or bedtime tea, and just mix it right in there, and that way you can sweeten it with honey, put some sugar in it, something to sweeten it up, because it does have a very swampy taste to it. I don't know how else to describe it. But some people, in lieu of taking all the pills, they'll opt for the powder. If you can't take the taste of the powder, you're going to have to take a lot of pills. Most likely, it's one or the other. You got to figure out what works best for you. But again, I found the red and the gold to be the most relaxing of the two strains. Of the 4 strains. Gold is also good for, this one's Gold Bali. Gold is also good for relaxation and sleep and pain. Like the red is. You would have to fool around and see which one works best for you. We've got a couple different companies. This one's Nature's Organics. I find this brand to be very, very good also. This was the first brand I ever took that I got results with. Actually, the very first brand of Kratom I took didn't work at all. I purchased it online. That was before we sold the product. And it did nothing. The quality, I guess, wasn't there. You have to get a good brand of the Kratom. Also, you want to make sure you get a brand that is doing testing for things like Salmonella and E. coli, because a couple years ago there was a recall on Kratom for Salmonella, I believe it was. So if you stick with the better brands, you don't have to worry about that. White, they refer to as Uplift, White Meng Da. This stuff, if you're looking for mental alertness, is awesome. It also has, all Kratom has anti-inflammatory properties to it, but there's different ones in terms of how they will make you feel. Uplift, or the white, this is their Nature's Organics White Meng Da, and this is Professor White's blend of white strains. Mental alertness, focusing, just energy first thing in the morning. If you're trying to get off of caffeine or something like that, these are great. Also, I find a good time to take this in the middle of the afternoon. Sometimes if you get that afternoon lull, that little 3 or 4 o'clock afternoon dip, you take some of these, and it really helps. What I like about using the white Kratom is you don't crash from it. It just kind of slowly wears off. So it's not like taking caffeine from coffee or from a pill, caffeine pill, or one of the an energy drink like a Monster or a Bang or a Red Bull, which if you drink enough of those things, you crash from them. This just kind of slowly wears off, and it lasts for a good 4 or 5 hours. Great stuff. The white and the green combined, they're Euphoria. Again, how it says up here, gives a boost, enhances mood, sociability, and enhances mood. I found that this works great, like later in the afternoon, early evening, before you go home. Maybe you had a long day. In lieu of taking like a drink or something like that, this works great. It just kind of calms you down. And gives you a little bit of a lift, but it's not as edgy as using the white, because they put the green in there to help mellow it out a little bit. Or you could just get straight green. A lot of people like green because it's a good mood enhancer. So again, you have to fool around with this stuff to see which works best for you. I recommend usually people trying the smaller packages at first and try each strain and see which one works best for you. the dosing again will be, I usually tell people anywhere from 4 to 6. If you're taking the pills, if you're taking the powder, usually around a teaspoon to start with. I have some customers that take a teaspoon. I have some that take a tablespoon. It all depends on your tolerance levels and what you're looking to do. For pain reduction, the way it was told to me to take it is generally what I pass on along to people. I was told to start taking the red and take 4 pills 3 times a day. I know that sounds like a lot, but it gets it gets worse. And then by each time, if you don't feel anything, increase it by 2 pills, which would be 1,000 milligrams. So if 4 3 times a day doesn't work, or 4 twice a day doesn't work, you can increase to 6 2 or 3 times a day, then 8, just go up by 2 pills every time, which is an increase of 1 gram every time. Or if you're going to do the powder, you can start off with a teaspoon and increase it by 1/4 teaspoon every time till you get the results. That's what most people find is the best way to do it. Again, powder, I've even heard powder if you don't mix it in water or juice. Some people I have mix it in applesauce. However you can get it down, it is definitely a texture or a taste that's kind of hard to get used to. There's another brand that's called Urban Ice. This is one of the more popular brands of Kratom. This one is actually mentioned in the documentary, A Leaf of Faith, and that's where I think it gained its popularity from. This is also a tested brand. Their capsules are 750 milligrams instead of 500, like most of them are. I have used this brand. It's excellent also, but milligram for milligram, I haven't found it to work any better than Professor White's or Nature's Organics. I found them, all these brands, to be equal in terms of how they work. Most of our customers pretty much feel the same, because when because sometimes we run out of one brand, they seem to switch to the other and interchange brands without any problems or complaints. They all work about the same. You will see these things. Kratom is something that's normally associated with selling it in smoke shops around here. I know it's in places like California and I think Florida, they actually have Kratom bars where you can go in and get it served as a drink, brewed as a tea kind of thing. But over here, like in New Jersey, it's only usually found in convenience stores and smoke shops, and it can be very expensive. I've seen some of the extract pills that go for as much as $10 for 2 pills. So you have to try those and see if they're worth it. I really haven't found any of the quote-unquote extract pills to be worth the money compared to like a good brand like Professor White's. There's where you get 200 capsules for $60, or 30 capsules for $20. Those extract pills, I just really haven't found them to be very, very effective compared to the good brands. Are not worth the money, because they can be really expensive, and they tend to make. There was one I tried where it seemed to relax me, but it didn't seem to work as much for the pain. That's the main reason I was taking it, was for the pain. Now I don't take anywhere near as much as I used to. I do like taking the red before I go to bed, because I find that when I take that before I go to bed, in the morning where I would normally have the pain when I wake up and throw my legs out of bed, I don't have it as much. I also sleep a lot better. If I wake up in the middle of the night, it's easier for me to get back to sleep, and there's no hangover effect. That's the other thing about it I found, that taking this before you go to bed. I mean, I have taken as many as 12. I know that sounds a lot, but that's only 6 grams. That's the equivalent of taking like a heaping teaspoon. There are some customers that take more. So again, you have to assess your own tolerance with it. There are some people have questioned us about addiction with this. If you have, my answer to that is, if you have an addictive personality, I think it's something you have to look at, because Kratom definitely helps you makes you feel good. But if you have an addictive personality, I mean, you could get addicted to sugar, you could get addicted to energy drinks, you could get addicted to coffee, you could get addicted to alcohol or smoking cigarettes. I really don't think that Kratom applies to that. I think, but if you have an addictive personality, or if you're coming off of opioids and using this to do it, it's something you want to keep an eye on. Watch your dose, but it is certainly a lot easier to get off something like this than it is to get off and go through opioid withdrawal and things like that. When I stopped taking it, I didn't notice myself any withdrawal effects whatsoever. You do obviously miss the way it makes you feel, but it's not something that you're craving or anything like that. So that's my general answer for when it comes up for addiction, I guess it's like anything else. If you have an addictive personality, it's something you have to look at, but it's not something that you could just, I don't believe it's anything you could get addicted to just by chance. I know there was controversy a couple years ago. They tried to get it off the market, and there were protests about it, and they were able to keep it on the market, and they decided to make it a state-by-state thing. That also is addressed in the documentary, A Leaf of Faith, so you should check that out for that reason also. So that's about it. Again, brands, make sure you get a brand that's tested. If you see Kratom online from bulk suppliers and things like that, make sure that they also have a certificate of analysis that you can trust, because a lot of this stuff comes from Southeast Asia. It is related to the coffee plant, so there's no caffeine in it, but it is in the same family, I believe. But again, most of it comes from Southeast Asia. You want to make sure you getting it from a supplier that at least has a certificate of analysis on it, that it has been tested for not just purity and potency, but for other things that shouldn't be in there as well. And so that's important to know when you're buying it, because if you see it online, it's usually a lot cheaper than buying it in the smoke shops. Again, like I said with the CBD the other night, if something is much cheaper than average prices other places, it usually means that they're skipping steps like quality control. And if you're going to be taking this stuff, normally people take it in high doses. It's important that the brand that you get is tested, because normally people use a lot of it. So that's about it. If you have any questions, you can either give us a call at 732-414-2777. You can come in. We try and stay fully stocked on at all times. You can also DM us or comment on the video. DM us either on Facebook or Instagram at the Vitamin House Online. Send us a message, direct message over there, and or give us a call at the store. Stop in. We're open 7 days a week. Thanks.